Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Final thoughts for Joyce versus ZHANG ZHILEI. So what we'll cover in the video, the weigh-in, because there's some interesting points. The punching power of ZHANG ZHILEI and the risk that presents, some comments from the fighters in general, and basically how I see this playing out based on what we've seen from the weights, and also just the way that these guys fight when they face different opposition. Remembering, ZHANG ZHILEI represents probably the most risk, apart from Daniel Dubois, that Joyce has had in his career from punching power. So first, we've got Joyce, and Moses Itauma, the young heavyweight prospect. We'll cover him at the end because it's a kind of a head-scratcher type of fight that he's in, because it's a massive leap up from the dross that he's been fed so far. But Joyce, 256 pounds, ZHANG ZHILEI, 278. So this is very interesting for a couple of reasons, because Joyce, last time out against Joseph Parker, where he stopped him late in that fight, he was 271 pounds. 15 pounds lighter for this one, and it's the lightest that Joyce has been since Bryant Jennings, and that was back in 2019. And what we saw in that fight was a lot of boxing and moving from Joyce. He knew in that one he was going to have some energy in the tank, because Bryant Jennings likes to box and move. So Joyce was able to box and move with him. For this one, I think it's a little bit different. I think that Joyce, similar to the Daniel Dubois fight, actually wants to be able to use his legs to basically make ZHANG ZHILEI work and work harder. Remembering, ZHANG is almost 40 and he's 278 pounds. At some point, ZHANG is going to start to slow down, and I think Joyce wants to make him work hard, make sure that happens faster, and that then he can start getting on top with the juggernaut sort of style that he likes to bring. But I think early, we're going to see Joyce boxing and moving similar to the way that he did against Daniel Dubois, circling, trying to stay out of that straight left, the power hand of ZHANG. But one thing that I think Joyce is going to have to be careful of is the right hook from ZHANG ZHILEI. ZHANG has got power in both hands. He's got good timing. He knows how to land shots, and he dropped Filip Hrgović with a right hook. And actually, Joyce has been hurt before from right hands. Sergey Kuzmin, a classic example from the amateurs, where he actually dropped him pretty hard from a right hand. So there is this narrative that Joyce is this indestructible juggernaut, and Joyce has certainly been leaning into that persona. But this fight is not without risk. Joyce and Ismail Salas, his trainer, know that ZHANG can bang. He is called Big Bang ZHANG after all. So it is a case that they'll be game planning to try to mitigate the power that ZHANG has. And I think we are going to see Joyce not being too reckless early on, that he's going to ease into the fight, and he's not going to want to eat punches like tic-tacs for the fun of it, because otherwise he could get knocked out. He could get hurt, he could get dropped. And as it is, I think this is a fight where the first 3 or 4 rounds is really risky for Joyce when ZHANG is fresh, because with his timing and power, if he lands on Joyce, he could hurt him. He could drop him. I think there could be some rocky moments in this fight for Joyce. It's not a gimme as some people see it. This is a proper fight, and it's more than just to stay busy. ZHANG ZHILEI could derail Joyce if Joyce is not careful, on point, and actually looking after his defense. Because if he's reckless, he could find himself looking up at ZHANG from the seat of his pants on the canvas. So it is a fight that Joyce is going to have to it may look a little different to some of the recent ones. Remembering, Christian Hammer, Carlos Takam, Joseph Parker, comparatively, don't have anywhere near the same sort of power that ZHANG has. So we've seen a different Joyce where he's just tried to walk through them. I don't think we're going to see that, especially early. Maybe later in the fight, as ZHANG is tiring and Joyce is starting to put the hurt on, using that volume as not just offense, but it's also a form of defense. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out with the risk element early on. And at a certain point, if Joyce sort of sees that off, I think then he does his juggernaut mode and he gets the win. I'm picking Joyce to win, but it would not shock me if there are rocky moments for Joyce to overcome. His defense is leaky. He can be caught, and if ZHANG times him right, catches him perfectly, he can go down. And we've seen him down before in the amateurs, and people forget that. He's not indestructible, but so far as a pro, the matchmaking has made him look even more indestructible because he's been facing basically non-punchers. Joseph Parker couldn't knock the skin off a rice pudding. It just is what it is. Carlos Takam, little bit of pop, not a hugely powerful puncher. Christian Hammer, same thing as Parker. So more recently, we've had a version of Joyce who's looked a certain way. I think he will try to mitigate some of what Jung brings, and it's going to be interesting to see him see that off, because there could be some, like I say, some moments where Jung has success and you're like, ooh. But these are the sort of fights that you want to see Joyce in, because you want to see him tested. You want to see him, what's he going to do? How's he going to overcome that adversity? As it is, we saw him pull off a really good performance against Daniel Dubois, where the game plan and the execution of it was perfect. And he did it to a T. And it was not what we were expecting, but it showed that Joyce can fight to a game plan. He's not always just a reckless sort of come forward, hang his chin out and take some shots. Because at some point, remembering Joyce is getting up there in age as well. What is he, 37 now? His chin will go. At some point, someone will catch him and that chin will crack and he will lose. Is it going to be this fight? For Joyce's sake, I hope not, because he is a guy that's waiting for a title shot. He holds the interim WBO title, but that's not really a title, not one of the major titles. It's a title in waiting almost. But in terms of the fighters themselves, so Joyce says, I'm a tough man. I started rugby a long time ago. I tried a lot of sports and have finally found my sport in boxing. And it's a whole package. All the ingredients that go into making a great champion. That's what I want to be, and I'm getting close. I have the WBO interim title, but I don't know how close I am to the world title. All the others seem to be running scared or doing their own thing. I want the fights to happen. I get how things work, the governing bodies, and I can only fight who is put in front of me. So why not fight a good fight and give everyone an entertaining fight against ZHANG ZHILEI? I respect Jung's power and I won't be going in there recklessly. He's a southpaw too. That's more of a tricky style than I'm used to. The last southpaw I fought was Lenroy Thomas. That was in my fourth fight, which was for the Commonwealth title. In history, that was really quick. I've only had 15 fights with 14 knockouts. I'm in for some proper fights and will give everyone value for their money. And Jung says, we accepted this fight with no questions. For me, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to become the strongest and the best, and I know in order to be the best, you have to beat the best. The translation of the juggernaut in Chinese is Red Tank. That's what people call him. He has a tough chin, he has great stamina, but I'm the Big Bang. From the first round of their fight, Joseph Parker fought scared. He fought going backwards and running around the ring, so when it comes to direct body contact, there hasn't been anyone who has hit Joe with solid punches. But I will land my shots. Maybe that's not quite true. Daniel Dubois did land some shots on Joyce, and he is a big puncher. But I think a lot of people are seeing this as going to be some all-out war. I think maybe this will be, at least for the start, more tactical than people think. But I do think it will end in a stoppage at some point. And if Joyce can see off Jung, wear him down, I think Joyce wins, and by stoppage, because Jung, his gas tank will empty after about 5 rounds, and he should be there to be broken down and taken out. Moses Itauma, he's on the undercard, so you can see here from the weigh-in, 247 pounds against Constantine Dobachenko. And this is a 6-rounder, but it's also a really sort of a head-scratching type fight, because you've had Moses Itauma in with some absolute puddings, guys that have basically been paid to fall down. And then you step it up to a guy in Constantine Dobachenko who's basically very, very durable. The record sort of belies his toughness. He's never actually been stopped. Sure, he's lost a lot, but he's actually given good rounds to a number of heavyweights, but generally after they've been in 10, 15 fights. More recently, he fought Jose Lardaway. There's been Vlad Serenko. The guy is tough, he's durable, and he's game. He will actually, if you give him opportunity to get into the fight, give him opportunity to land punches, he'll let his hands go. So to go from absolute dog dross to, Dobachenko, who's actually a good gatekeeper journeyman, it's kind of like you're jumping up like several levels from where he has been fighting to this one. I mean, based on what we've heard about him from the amateurs, from that amateur level, he should be able to win this and see off Dobachenko. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's just, a few moments where he's like, this guy's still here. I'm giving him my best and I'm landing on him. Shouldn't he be going down? So I'm interested to see how he handles that. These are the sort of tests he's going to have ultimately anyway, so, why not now? I guess, people have been saying it's been pretty bad matchmaking so far, but this is jumping it up quite a few steps. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.